we'll move into the wide receivers. I have Davante Adams number 1. I don't know if I can say for the Green Bay Packers anymore because it sounds like he might play somewhere else. I mean, I don't know if you saw Zadarius Smith saying he needs a realtor in Green Bay ASAP.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there, man, but it doesn't sound like they're in a good place right now. So, I'm sorry, Jake Shavink. I know you're out there. Not trying to make fun of your Packers. It's a tough time right now for you. But, Davante Adams, to me, best receiver in the league. Footwork is great. He's not the fastest receiver. Doesn't have to be the fastest receiver. I think he's the most precise route runner in football. I don't think he's the best, though. I do think that's Keenan Allen. I'll talk about him in a little bit. But I think Davante Adams is absolutely up there as one of the best. And what he does, going up and high pointing the football, the way he can finish through contact, obviously running after the catch. There's only 2 guys ahead of him, yards after the catch, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods over the last 2 years. I mean, Davante Adams has been a freak, so he's number 1 for me. Number 2 is Tyreek Hill, a guy that can absolutely change the game. He has an argument to be number 1. I really mulled putting him at 1, and it's funny, the year prior, I couldn't really take him seriously as a top receiver. But when you look at him, he really moves all over the offense. He can play on the outside. He's proven that. He can play on the inside. He's just a freak. So he's number 2. Julio Jones is number 3 for me. Julio Jones has been so, competitive, and, he's stayed around for a bit. This is somebody that I think, at least in my opinion, Julio Jones is one of the most complete wide receivers we've seen. He's going to, be somebody that is going to give you consistent production. And now he goes to the Titans. He's got just as good of a quarterback. I'd say Ryan and Tannehill, kind of funny there, are kind of on the same tier right now. So that's that's where I have Julio Jones. DeAndre Hopkins is number 4. He was number 1 for me initially, but I really think about it. I think Hopkins is absolutely up there, but he's also a huge target hog. And so I feel like that kind of manipulates everything, looking at Julio and Tyreek and Davante. So I have him at 4 on my list. Number 5, I have Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen is an absolute stud. He's become one of my favorite receivers in football. He's not the fastest, but the one thing Keenan Allen does well is he runs routes. He manipulates guys off the line of scrimmage, and it's so fun to watch. Keenan Allen is an absolute stud. He comes in at 5 for me. Number 6 is more of a projection than kind of where I feel like he is, where I think he could be early on in the season, where he'll mold into, and that is DK Metcalf. We saw Metcalf and kind of the inexperience and being more of a younger player, begging for targets. He actually, I'm not going to say he's the one that threw the interception to Darius Williams and cost his team in the playoffs, but his desire to get the ball and make a big scene about it forced their hand to give it to him. It could have led to that pick 6 to Darius Williams in the playoffs that ultimately cost him that game, or, kind of led to that. Number 7, Allen Robinson. Look at the receiver that leads the league in contested catches over the last few years. That's Allen Robinson. He's got over 80 plus. So he is absolutely up there. And man, Justin Fields, that's the receiver you want to have. Number 8 is Mike Evans. I mean, what can you say about Mike Evans? The dude just consistently goes over 1,000 yards and has 10 plus touchdowns, or close to 10 every single year. Number 9 is A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, I honestly argued about putting up at 6 and swapping DK Metcalf, because Metcalf's physical attributes, I don't know necessarily mean that he's a better receiver than Brown. Right now, A.J. Brown might be better, but projection-wise going into 2021, I had DK Metcalf because I think over time it's really going to just click, and Metcalf has a chance to be the best in the league. And then wrapping up in my top 10, Stephon Diggs. I know there are Rams fans out there that would argue Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. I would tell you respectfully, because I absolutely love them. And Robert Woods is one of my absolute favorite players. I've met him in person. I love him. But the fact of the matter is that we talked about how deep the running backs are. The wide receivers are 40 deep, man. There's about 40 starting caliber receivers right now, maybe even more than that. It's so impressive. I don't even know where I would put Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. I think I might have put them like top 30, top 20 maybe. I think it was more close to top 30, but it is just such a tough one there. And keep in mind, I didn't even mention Justin Jefferson, who is right outside of that for me, or DJ Moore. But Stephon Diggs, I mean, look, I've been a huge Adam Thielen is better than Stephon Diggs, person here, fan club. And I'll tell you, Diggs reached another level. That wasn't Diggs from Minnesota. Diggs got better with Josh Allen. That was a completely different receiver, and I think you saw that. So those are my top 10, Blaine. If you'd like me to repeat, because I know you had to go check on something, I can definitely do that for you.
I got your guys, Jake. Thank you.
All right, cool.
So our top 2 are the same. I have Devontae Adams at 1. He was the one guy that I don't want to say he gave Jalen Ramsey trouble, but I think he was the one guy that really give him a natural competition. We'll say he's the best guy in football, I think. And then in number 2, like you could argue him at number 1, but Tyreek Hill for me is number 2 as well. And number 3, I have 3 and 4 switched. I have DeAndre Hopkins at number 3. I mean, he's a playmaker. He can make a case for the best receiver in football too. I mean, last year against Buffalo, when Arizona needs a guy to make a play, Kyler Murray hauls up a Hail Mary to no one, and DeAndre Hopkins is there to muscle it away and score the game-winning touchdown. Like,
it's crazy.
So for me, he's at 3. At 4, I have Julio Jones. I think going into the later parts of his career, I think he's going to deal with injuries a little bit. I could see him starting to fall off, but when he's healthy, he's dominant. He's not a guy you want to see 100%, because I think a couple of years ago he showed that he can take over games. And then at 5, I have Stephon Diggs. Like you said, he went on another level last year. I think in Minnesota he was really brought down by that offense, and that being a run first offense. And I mean, I don't think Kirk Cousins is bad, but he's not Josh Allen. So I love Stephon Diggs at number 6. I think like you said, he can be the best wide receiver in football here in the next year or 2, and that's DK Metcalf. I think he showed flashes last year of it, and I mean he was only a rookie. So like going into this year and moving forward, he's going to learn from his mistakes. He's going to get stronger mentally. I think if he can get better up here, he's going to be really good. AJ Brown. I mean, the Titans might have the best wide receiver duo in football right now between Julio Jones and AJ Brown. I also gave Keenan Allen some love. At number 9, I have Justin Jefferson. I think he's only going to get better. He showed some really, really good things as a rookie, and honestly could break into the top 5 here in the next year or 2. And then number 10 might be the one surprise. He's the best slot receiver in football, really. Got second team All-Pro last year for a reason, and that's Cole Beasley. I mean, the Bills put a lot of emphasis on the slot receiver position, and Cole Beasley kind of took that and ran with it last year in Buffalo. I mean, he was kind of just seen, I think, as a kind of a poor man's Wes Welker, a poor man's Julian Edelman, but when he was in Dallas. But last year in Buffalo, when Josh Allen took that next step, and when Stephon Diggs came in and kind of take some pressure off him, Cole Beasley was one of the best slot receivers last year. So I had to put him in my top 10.
So I totally forgot about. Well, I didn't forget about him. He is an honorable mention for me. That's Calvin Ridley. Jake, you're absolutely right. And, for me, I think one more year of his, because he went from 800 to like 1,500 yards last year. I might be overdoing it, but he had a monster season last year. As long as that production continues, he'll move up the ranks there. And then I think you pissed off JT Olsen because he is like really upset that Mike Evans isn't in your top 10.
Mike Evans just isn't consistent enough for me. He's very up and down. He'll disappear for games at a time. Like, and I think injury issues are part of his problem too. So, I mean, Mike Evans is obviously like one of the more physically talented wide receivers in the game, but he's like he would be one of my honorable mention guys. He was somebody I really considered putting in there, but he'd be in that kind of 11 to 13 range for me.
So I'm gonna do honorable mention here. I'm gonna mention, well, first off, I'll mention Calvin Ridley. Yeah, I agree. I think that, Mike Evans has been very consistent over the years with his 1,000 yards. But I understand what you're saying, Blaine, because you say he's off certain games, and so it ends up when you put it all together with a bow, it looks great at the end of the year. But you're saying if I want a guy that consistently goes for 80 yards, he's not that guy.
Yeah,
I get that. Actually, it's funny. That's actually Robert Woods in a sense. But no, honorable mentions. I'm going to say Calvin Ridley. I'm going to say, keep an eye on Jamar Chase this season with Cincinnati. I'm going to say Tyler Boyd deserves an honorable mention. Keep in mind, like going into 2021, I think, Chase Claypool, I think deserves a mention. I mean, we saw what he did last year. Tyler Lockett, 100%. I mean, that dude is so consistent, and he's such a good route runner, always open. And he's never dropped a red zone pass from Russell Wilson. So I would definitely say him. And I'm sure I'm missing guys, but, those are guys that come to my mind. Cortland Sutton going into this year, coming off the torn ACL. I'm curious to see how he does. I'm a big fan of his game. And then the Dallas trio. I mean, we got to talk about, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper and Gallup. I definitely am curious to see where they go with that. So, yeah, I mean, just some names to throw out there.